state coming up. The other thing I just did was to welcome the delegates of the Mexican political party, which is now the governing political party, Morena, Movimiento de Regeneración Nacional, to the California Republic. Free, sovereign, independent, and plurinational. Okay, and I got some, pretty strong applause. And then I explained what that meant and how both they and we are under treaty obligations. We are under the treaty obligations of the U.S., including the Second Treaty of Fort Laramie, upon which basis it demands that unused federal land be returned. Okay, well, as Marcus correctly pointed out, it is unused land, pretty much. That's why it's in the Forest Service and BLM and all that, to prevent it from being used. So under the Treaty of Fort Laramie, it should be returned to them. And it's such a huge check. Like I say, it would have to be administered jointly. And fortunately, there's a Mexican solution to that problem, and that is an indigenous Congress. They have the CNE. We could have a California Indigenous Congress with a constitutional ambit specifically to administer jointly that land, just as Alcatraz was jointly administered by the occupiers. It came from all over. They weren't just the indigenous to that area. There wasn't enough, you could find them. But the indigenous from all over the U.S. came there. So we can do the same thing, and so can they. As a matter of fact, they have a treaty obligation also. That is to say, under the Treaty of San Andres Laranzar, which is the treaty that ended the war between the Mexican federal government and the Zapatista Liberation Army. The EZLN presented their initial demands. They sat down, negotiated with the Mexican federal government. They ended their war, and they came out with a treaty of peace, which has never been honored by any Mexican government since it was signed. It's just another what they call Indian treaty, right? So now there's a new government that's saying it wants to do everything differently, and this is their chance to do it. This is their chance to do what no other Mexican government has done and honor the Treaty of San Andres Laranzar. The CNE, the National Indigenous Congress of Mexico, is the civilian authority that the EZLN recognizes as a authentic indigenous civilian authority. Okay, they're responsible to their specific bases, but those bases co-founded CNE. Okay, so CNE has acceded to the Treaty of San Andres Laranzar to the extent that they're demanding that the Mexican government incorporate it into the Constitution, which would make Mexico into a plurinational federal republic. Okay, it would become a plurinational republic if that was done. If CNE was a fundamental branch of the Mexican federal government, that makes it a plurinational republic. And that's what we're seeking for the California Republic. So we're in a situation where we have communications with both sides, with the Morenistas, with the Zapatistas, and we can offer our good offices as what they call a disinterested party to help them begin a dialogue over this. But, that's called fighting diplomacy. I was engaged in that. Again, at Cal State San Bernardino, when the Morenistas were there, I'll be engaged in more of that with the U V time when I meet with them. But that is some of the background to question 3 on the Consulta. Question 4, of course, is the 64 million peso question, and that is, should California be independent of the United States? Okay. That's question 4. Because there are going to be those who feel that these other 3 things can be accomplished without us becoming independent of the United States. Really? Really, we can retrocede federal land when it's still federal land. We can protect the environment when the U.S. is attacking it, demanding that offshore concessions be opened and opening up the national parks to logging companies and all this sort of thing. Really, we can protect the human rights that the U.S. is attacking. We can protect immigrants when they're shipping them off to concentration camps. Really? No. I think the only way that we can vouchsafe on the first three questions is if we answer in the affirmative. On the fourth question, California independence. These are some of the main goals of our independence. These are the values we're protecting by and with independence. Okay, so those are the four questions. Bilingual two-sided sheet. And if you don't have the sheet, I'll send you the sheet. I think I sent you the sheet, but it's just, a single sheet with two-sided, one English, one Spanish, that asks those four questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that on 4th of November, our authentic Independence Day, not Anschluss Day, which is, this month in September, when we celebrated our Anschluss with the U.S. No, we don't celebrate that. We celebrate our independence, which was our Declaration of Independence was printed on 3rd November, 1836. And on 4th November, an uprising very, very similar to the Zapatista uprising, by the way, led by Juan Bautista Alvarado, who wrote the Declaration of Independence. It was nailed to, the public square in the tradition of the time, like the 95 Theses being nailed, by Martin Luther. Well, this is a long tradition, and this was sort of the latest incarnation of it, nailing up the Declaration of Independence. It's the same thing that Zapatistas did with their Declaration of War in 1994. Okay, they nailed it up in the public square, just like our Declaration of Independence. And at the time, Alta California was a Mexican territory. And so the idea is that this 4th of November, okay, we print these things out. We make cardboard ballot boxes, okay, what Mexicans call urnas. And the ballot box, you cut out a side and you put cellophane, saran wrap over it so people can see when you put it there, it isn't already stuffed with ballots. It's always a problem with paper ballots that you have a closed box and you don't know how many ballots are already in there. So what they did, during the Zapatista Consulta, they says, okay, you take a cardboard box, and you cut a slot over the top, and one side of it, you put, like some plexi or some, saran wrap or whatever, so people can, when you put it down there, it's empty. It's not stuffed with ballots.
Right.
Okay. And then you put the ballots on one side, and you have people fill them out. You put them in the box, fill out next one, put it in the box until you run out of ballots. Okay. So it's a very informal consulta. It has nothing to do with any of the governments. Okay. You don't have to, get it certified by any Secretary of State. You just do it. Okay. Like they say in the Nike's ad, you just do it, the consulta. And that's what they did a couple, 3 times. I was involved with 2 of them. I was out there with their little urna, with your ballot box, with their ballot papers, and people were filling them out and stuffing them in. Then we returned them, and then the results were tabulated. Okay, and so that's what we do on 4th November. We're out there with our ballot boxes, and we tabulate the results at the end of 4th November, and we celebrate the 5th of November by announcing the results. Okay.
And I can see this happening. Actually, this would be a great thing to do in all the towns around here in California.
Right.
To get a sense of what people are.
All of our California independence activists to go ahead, print these things out, make these cardboard urnas, and get out there on 4th November. And, to a place or places they figure that people will go. And being an informal consultant, guess what? You don't care what your citizenship is. Okay. This is an informal consulta. So you can set up in a swap meet. It is a bilingual thing. And, have people fill this out. They did it with the Zapatista consulta. We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we have them filled out. And at the end of the day, we forward our counts and we tabulate the results. And that is how we authenticate California independence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is how we authenticate California independence. Zapatistas did it a few times. And again, they just did it. Okay. And we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing on our authentic Independence Day, not on Anschluss Day in September. Okay. But on our authentic Independence Day, we can call attention to that, and it will be a concrete step against Yankee fascism. Okay. So we are doing our own response to the call to refuse a fascist America, made, interestingly enough, on our authentic Independence Day last year. We're doing our response to it.
Very cool. Very cool. Excuse me, listeners, if you heard my dog, she's done barking now. Luckily, she has very good voice command. Sorry if that interrupted you, Matt.
I didn't even know that was a dog barking.
Well, that's good. Yeah, she was pretty quiet about it. Yeah, she wasn't real excited. She was just letting me know that one of us was opening the door.
Ever heard a horse dog bark?
Nope.
No, it's not a pretty sound because you don't really hear it. I have. I was delivering something one time, and this dog comes out, and it looks me in the eyes, and it's going, as I pour dog, give it a rest, come back. You mean, okay, putting some more water, several gallons, in fact. He's like, you may think you're a dog, but you're really a little horse.
Offer him some tea with honey and lemon.
Yeah. This is how a dog turns into a little horse.
Oh wow! Listeners, you're getting a treat today, and I can do this because it's my show. I can make us laugh, and Matt's here to help me do that. And you can also email me at suehirsch01@gmail.com. I'll spell it for you. Let me know if you have anything that you think belongs on my show. It's SUEHIRSCH, like in school, 01@gmail.com. And if you think you have something to say, you probably do. That's my philosophy on this show. I like for it to be something, I like for the topic to be always something that is geared toward advancing and progressing California. I like for my listeners to know that they're going to be hearing about something that is good, for everybody, no matter what their political affiliations have always been. And these issues, including this issue of more independence for California and maybe even eventually secession, is something that should concern absolutely every Californian across party lines and across age boundaries and racial boundaries. It's another one of these things, sort of like pollution, climate change, educational progress, and you're allowed to have an opinion about it. You should be thinking about it because it is, it's really on the cusp of where we are now. We are going to get there, at least in my opinion. It's an eventuality. It's not like, oh, I hope this is going to happen. I hope it happens soon. I am sure that it's going to happen. I just feel like it can't come soon enough.
Yeah, there is a sense of urgency, not just because of the rapid deterioration of the environment. I mean, we had fires, and now we got hurricanes. Okay, all over the world. The hurricane belt